Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Okay, hello, welcome once again, another iteration of the Simulationist podcast. This is the 72nd of these little things that we're doing called the Simulationist, and it is recorded on the 19th of January 2014. My name is Josh Trelevin, and co-casting with me, as always,
a slightly raspy Ryan Kirkby.
Yeah, or maybe Captain Phlegm is taking over for...
It's not that bad. It's not like I have the urge to cough, but the right cough would do me a lot of good right now.
All right, well, so, dear listeners, just get used to settle in and listen to Ryan's raspy voice, and we'll just carry on as normal.
If you have any issues with it, consider me like Tom Waits.
I'm sure they don't have any issues with it. In fact, yeah, I listen to lots of podcasts where people apologize for having raspy voice, and I'm like, what, really? But
no, this is going to come through raspy. I know that.
Okay. Anyways, now that we've called attention to it, we should get on to what simulations we've been running over the past week. Let me see. Should we start with you? You want to go?
Well, not as many simulations as I would prefer. I've been coughing a lot this last week. Hopefully we'll be able to let out any coughs we have throughout this podcast.
I might, yeah.
I tried to get back into a couple things this week. Some of the free-to-play games. And I think that is the biggest downside of free-to-play. It's just so easy to drop.
Oh, easy to drop. Easy to not play?
Exactly. It's like, well, I'll come back to it tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. It's a busy week. Maybe sometime next week. And then, bam, 2 months have gone by.
Yeah, and is that a downside for you because you wish you'd played it more?
To some degree, I would like to be able to always sit down, and, okay, I'll do my little runs here, my checks in this here, and do a little more exploration.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a sense of like how good a setting is, how good it is, that keeps you coming back. I know I was able to always want to come back to the City of Heroes.
Yep.
It was free to play for me until they shut it down. Then it was nobody gets to play.
Right.
But the other stuff just hasn't been able to hold my attention for me to keep going back. It's been a while since I've been on the DC universe. Mm-hmm. There's a few games I want to try. I've heard good things about the Champions free to play. Let's see what's the other one. The Star Trek one. They have it. You can do free to play on there.
Yeah.
D&D one that they have in the Eberron campaign setting is free to start. And I haven't been able to get enough impetus to get on there and start up on it and keep playing.
Yeah, you don't need to feel... I mean, there are so many games to play, you can't keep up with all of them, of course.
No, but I haven't even given some of them like a fair shake.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of good, fan reviews of the Star Trek. Haven't played a minute's worth. The Star Wars one, is technically free, although I've been told it's kind of like riding a bike without a seat. With the factors they remove. If you want to pay, it's like putting the seat back on your bike.
Oh, okay.
So, but I haven't been able to give it even a single minute's worth of time. I've just been busy being a dad, being sick, being a good worker, and a good podcaster.
No, but did you log into anything at all? Or?
I had to update a lot of stuff, and then by the time it was done updating, I need to go to sleep. I'm too tired.
So updating, just downloading files and stuff.
Yes. just making sure I could play now if I wanted to. And you know what? It strikes me as one of those weird things. I used to be the kind of guy who could do this sort of stuff. Like, I could play Civilization, all night long, man.
Yeah.
And there were times I was like, okay, what am I going to do for the weekend here at university? Well, no projects due on Monday, so Civilization all weekend long. And I'd maybe sleep 8 hours the entire weekend.
Yeah.
The rest of it, playing Civ. And when I was sleeping, I was dreaming of Civilization.
Yeah.
I just don't have it in me anymore, I think.
Maybe not.
My priorities are elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't have... I can't game for 14 hours or 18 hours at a time anymore, so...
I've also, I have managed to play this week a little bit more Minecraft.
Okay.
So tell me, the feather touch enchantment for pickaxes.
Silk touch?
Silk touch, yes, sorry. How hard is that to get? Because I am not getting that at all.
Quite hard, yeah. If you max out your levels and you get like a 30 level enchantment every time, you might get it once in 20.
Because I'm raising cows and I'm raising pigs just to slaughter them for the experience.
Yep.
And I'm, every time I hit level 30, go all the way up to the top, enchant, a stone pickaxe. No, not what I want. Come back down.
Okay, well, if you're enchanting stone, you will get better results with gold pickaxe.
I don't have a lot of gold.
Well, you need 3 ingots for pickaxe. Although I suppose you're not likely to get what you want on the first try, so you'll need a few.
How about books?
Yeah.
What are the odds of getting the silk touch on a book?
I think worse than on a pickaxe, because you can get armor enchantments. Although, well, the thing is, there's going to be like the newest snapshot. If you play on that, it is now slightly different, so you can actually get the enchantment that you want. I think I'm not actually 100% sure how it works.
I did hear something about them that you can learn about it, so it's not always completely random.
Yeah, but you'll need lapis lazuli.
I've got some of that.
Okay, you have some of that. So you'll need, and I think it just costs 1 lump of it, or whatever the...
1 shard.
1 blue pickle of that stuff. Yeah, so they're changing the game up so that you can have that, yeah.
I'm also considering doing some stuff on the very top side. For instance, I made my nice little enchanting area, and on the other side I've got a few furnaces, and I'm going to have the anvil there and everything. And so it's like, oh, I'll make this place look nice, and I build a roof over top. And then I'm doing some work, and I look over, there's a zombie on top in the evening.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough light, and there's a zombie on my roof. So I shoot the zombie off the roof, put a torch up there.
Yeah.
When it occurs to me, I could have some fun building a nice, real long corridor and just making sure it was completely darkly lit at the far side. Put like a fence in the way, and then just a door on the near side, some torches there, and then just whenever I want, go into the dark room, see what's down at the end, and shoot it with some bow and arrow.
Absolutely.
Target practice.
Yeah, that's what you do in Minecraft.
Well, that, and I'm also thinking I've got a lot of lava. I've got more than any reasonable person should expect.
Yeah.
I'm not a reasonable person, so I'm not going to get rid of it. But I am thinking of maybe spending some time building a portal to the Nether, just because I can get that much obsidian.
Yeah, have you learned the trick with, or seen a video of the trick how to do obsidian, how to do a mold? Like you make a mold out of dirt and then you put lava in the bot, and so you don't have to move the obsidian at all.
I'll be kind and say I've played Dwarf Fortress. We can build entire citadels out of obsidian mold casting.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
We know what to do. We dwarfers.
All right.
We've had people build like a fly citadel, effectively, just one support beam, and then just cast layer after layer, and then hollow it out. Some people, even, it's like, I'll design everything, I'll design the rooms, and I'll just put, like all the stuff up here, and then make sure everything casts normally, and then you just like get rid of the wood walls that you had in there, and that becomes your hollow areas. So yeah, trust me, I know about casting for efficiency and awesomeness.
Okay, so I take it you're heading to the Nether fairly soon then.
I'm thinking so. I don't anticipate living too long.
Yeah.
I tend to look and explore and poke at things, and that sounds like a good way to get a fireball up my backside.
Yeah. It's a scary place, especially the first time you go there. Yeah.
But I think I'll enjoy it. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. Maybe I want to put up a nice little area around that, nice little place to make it look nice. So, also, if I'm not mistaken, zombie pigmen randomly come around from there, right?
They do, yeah. Like if you have a portal in your overworld, in your upper world or whatever.
Mainland.
Yeah, mainland. It spawns zombie pigmen randomly. They're not hostile. They don't attack.
No, on the other hand, I am fairly high up, and I am personally prone to a little bit of a start where something like, oh, what was that? So the last thing I'd want is a random zombie pigman to startle me off the side of my overworld and then fall long enough to realize exactly what I've done before actually dying. So if I can avoid that, I think I will.
Yeah, maybe you could put some kind of trap out there. Like sometimes people build like a piston crusher so that if a zombie pigman spawns that it'll crush them. Or
I'm thinking maybe I'll just go with a nice gazebo sort of design.
Okay.
Nothing too major, just a little fun. But those are my plans for this upcoming week. Depending how sick I am, maybe I'll get more playing time than normal.
Yeah, sure.
But I got this little bug from my daughter, and she seems to be on the mend. So how much energy she has will also affect how much playing time I'll get.
Ah, yeah.
If she doesn't want to be in the same room as where the computer is, my options are limited.
Yeah, and she's not quite old enough to be playing with you.
Not yet. But as soon as she is, Mommy's computer's going to be very busy.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be kind of fun. I'll enjoy that, definitely. Daddy-daughter time. I'll save you from those nasty creepers. Boom, Daddy dies.
Cool.
Yeah. Other than that, doing some nice light reading. Oh, that's right. I do have a nice little fiction practice for people this week.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been watching a decent amount of home and garden television, HGTV.
Here's what you've been up to, HGTV. All right.
Because I don't need to actively do it, I can just lay down on the couch and passively watch as I kind of drift in between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Yeah, sounds good.
And the channel isn't great because it's not like it really encourages my mind the same way like the Knowledge Network will or watching Nova on PBS will. But some of the scenery things that they show there are just, make your heart long to have something as beautiful as that. It's like, I want that. Look at the view. Look at those islands. And, oh, my goodness.
On their own islands, yeah.
The sands are just white like alabaster. And the water is just such a wonderful, like, green emerald color. Oh. And it occurred to me, if you were to watch, say about 15-20 minutes of home and garden television, at the right point, the international stuff where they show the really nice scenes, just mute it, pause it, or stop watching it, and try and describe it. Write down in a paragraph what you just saw. If it was good enough to make you go, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, I love the design. Can you try and write it down so that someone else can read it and say that too? Oh God, you wrote such a wonderful foyer for this mansion. I want my PCs to be, intimidated by the social, hierarchy of this wonderful, palatial estate.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's a good writing exercise and a good DMing exercise to try and convey that to your player.
And so yes, this week, watch something. Just Google up beautiful scenery, look at something, and then just write that scene. Describe what you see. And the more you're able to describe it accurately and vividly, the better you're able to describe it in your novels, to your players, to the DMs. Like, oh, yeah, I want to build my own mansion. It's going to be, like, you can draw the lines, but to describe it to them, oh, you can really get the DM in on it. It's like, ooh, I kind of like what you're doing here. A chandelier made from Perryton horns, eh? Ooh, you're going to have to go on a couple adventures to get enough Perryton horns for that. And you're like, sure. So, how about you, though, this week, Josh?
What simulations have I been running? I've been running a little bit of WoW, a little bit of Minecraft, a little bit of... I played on my family server today with my little brother, so that was kind of fun. We filled in his moat. Because water can be a little bit tricky in Minecraft. If you don't get it right, there's a little... like
always
weird
swirling, always
areas.
flowing, yeah.
But it looks very nice. If I do say so myself.
To toot your own horn.
Because I did help fill it up with water, so.
Yeah.
And there's like a secret. It's a moat. And there's a secret underground passage. Like you swim down into the moat and you go underneath, and you can come into his house that way too.
Ooh.
So there's a bridge, of course. It's not a drawbridge because Minecraft doesn't do drawbridges too well.
In that case, maybe he's a good candidate for Dwarf Fortress.
Maybe I should pitch that to these guys. Yeah.
Well, when he's older, it's actually a nice thing. Is you'll have goblins coming on like giant frogs when they're like invading, and so people have designed. If there's a way to get in, the monster will always automatically take that path. It's a bit of a cheat. They always know how to get in, but they'll do it. Unfortunately, goblins can't hold their breath infinitely underwater like frogs can. So, you make a nice long underwater passage, and all the frogs will swim down there with the goblins on. The goblins will drown, and then it's just frogs. All you have to do is shoot the giant frogs. Don't have to worry about the goblins with their crossbows, with their spears, with their weapons. Nope, just giant frogs. Doof, 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 doof.
Okay.
It's entertaining and in just the right cruel way. Just the goblins. Attack them! We have amphibious mounts. Dive under the water into the around the moat for the dwarven fortress, and then they drown trying to get in there. And so it's just like out comes a frog, just a gigantic frog the size of like a Volkswagen, with a dead goblin on his back.
There you go.
So, some people say, oh, that's an exploit, you're abusing, how the game works. And it's like, well, the game abused how to get into my fortress. I'm abusing how to kill them as they come in. Whatever. And the only downside is if the goblin band leader dies at the wrong spot, all the others will tend to stop, and then you might just get like a passageway underwater full of frogs and corpses.
Yeah, okay.
In which case you might have to do some like lever work, get close one lever off, drain the water out, and then just, take them out into a shooting gallery.
Okay. With crossbows, I guess?
Crossbows, bow and arrow.
Yeah.
If you mod the game, you can do, blow darts.
Okay.
Your blowgun. I modded in the medic's weapon from Team Fortress 2, where you can effectively shoot needles.
Right. That game is great.
Yeah. I decided that Dwarf Fortress needed more mad scientists. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember you talking about earlier about making a sort of a whole package of mad scientists.
I am still working on some of the more odd reactions and how to make them work. They seem like a lot of fun, but it's very slow going, especially when I have to keep one eye on my daughter.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, dealing with life. Minecraft just, they updated. They're always updating. So they did an update a little while ago, which was fairly large, and finally the modder pack just finally came out, so that I maybe will actually look at the code that I can understand. Like it's in Java, so I can kind of look at it and basically understand it. It's still a little confusing, but so I've been spending a lot of time trying to update my modifications. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think Minecraft in Java is a little more complicated than
Dwarf Fortress utilizes some very interesting tagging techniques that make it a lot easier.
No, okay, so it's easy.
Although the can-do interactions I still haven't fully mastered. But if you want your dog to start breathing fire, I think I've been able to make that happen.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've never considered wanting that, but...
But now that you've heard about it,
maybe
you say to yourself, why don't I have more fire-breathing dogs in my fortress?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering if I could put that into Minecraft somehow. If the wolves could breathe fire.
No.
I think that could...
Splash potion, permanent effect.
Yeah.
Bah, bah, bah. Fire-breathing dogs, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, might start a lot of forest fires, though. Oh, well.
Yeah, I think that covers... That's what I've been up to. I mean, yeah... And all the work and stuff that's yeah, so
so about your brother's moat.
Yeah.
How true to physics is that for the secret passage?
Oh, I don't know. I doubt it's very true to physics. I mean, I tried to make the water levels the same on either side, so there's that, but yeah.
Well, it just occurs to me that, like, did you go for like a U-pipe sort of thing like you see underneath the sink? Or did you just make it go down and then, and then there's no more water sources here, so the whole thing just drains out and you just keep walking this way and then the water just disappears?
Well, I guess it's more like the U-pipe thing. Because, I filled up the entire... He might change it, like he might decide he doesn't like that later on because it's his house.
Well, I just like to ask on that because some people play the game very much with a sense of, I want to try and mimic reality. And other people say, this game is a crude reflection of reality at best. The oak trees drop apples.
Yeah.
This is a nice instance. There are no, like, tree seeds. You just always seedling just drops out like a mini tree from the tree.
Yeah.
So, some people play it in accordance with the laws of physics. Other people play it with fragrant disregard. Like, I've sometimes thought, you know what? Let's get a nice, like jungle tree up here, and then I'll, get a whole bunch of dirt, and then build like a staircase up, and I'll have a nice little platform up above, and then I'll use that right on top, same spot, grow another giant tree, and then just do one giant tree on top of another. And then just keep it going forever and ever. And then just have, like, Yggdrasil, the world tree.
Yeah, well, people, I mean, if you watch some YouTube videos of people who've done giant trees, oh, wow, like, they're impressive in Minecraft.
That was one of my ideas of building, like, a tower that was designed to look like a tree.
Yeah.
But I had a whole lot of stone left over from all my digging, so it's like, I'll use that. And I never looked back. C'est la vie. But yes, that's a week in review. In gaming news, this is a little bit outdated. It's not the freshest of fresh news.
Okay, well, thanks, but it's still coming up, though, right?
Yes, it's still starting. Is that those who know your gaming literature will probably know Knights of the Dinner Table.
Knights of the Dinner Table, which is a comic book
based about gamers,
people who are playing a game
around a table.
Hackmaster, do they?
Yes, it's the Hackmaster setting, and various other ones. They got like In Space, and they got Cowboys, sort of thing, and very nice stuff. I've been reading it for years. Mm-hmm. I have a nice, not complete, but I have a very nice collection of their issues and back issues. Friends with, like I'm on Facebook, and they're starting a live-action series, a Kickstarter for it.
A live-action series, like television, or a web series?
It'll likely be a web series, I believe.
Yeah. So it's going to be the Knights of the Dinner Table web series.
Their best adventures done live. And they've done some really nice stories, like... They really helped me rethink just how dangerous a sentient weapon could be.
Right.
Just look up Carvin Marvin. I think they got some stuff up on their Knights of the Dinner Table web, free for viewing. Oh my goodness!
I'll put a link to that in in the documents.
Yeah, Carvin Marvin is just a seriously twisted weapon. The souls of anyone killed by it gets sucked into the sword, and so it's like a gestalt crazy entity of pain and suffering, with a lot of really nice powers. And just some of the lines show how good it is, because the artwork is nothing to write home about. This is not going to be on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. You're never going to see Bob Herzog, the character saying, "I waste the orc with my crossbow." But just the sight of the look on one person's face when the sword takes over and goes, "Oh, you bleed just like a little girl," and just the fact that this really makes you think of the weapon being something other than like, oh hey, I gained these powers. Is like, maybe I should build a dungeon and seal it at the bottom of this dungeon.
Right.
And so they've got great stories. Some of the things that they do with tricks and traps, just positively malicious, beautifully done. So if you ever think, maybe my adventures, into dungeons are too bland and linear, read through a few of them. Their portents, their prophecies, their rules abuses are kind of fun too.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, I've read some Knights of the Dinner Table, and I always thought this is exactly what not to do, because usually they end up with, at the end of the night, they're all mad at each other and fighting. And
there is that time and again, yes. But
I guess, what not to do is a good reason to read this thing, and it's funny, so.
Oh, it is very funny. But I remember one storyline where they had, they found out how powerful dogs were for their price. So they bought a bunch of dogs and they trained them to kill. And they got loose. And the game world for Hackmaster is very well statted up. And every town has 1 die 400 dogs within it, sort of thing. And so the dogs wind up forming what became known as the Doom Pack. And the dogs would just kill, and they'd effectively treat the new dogs, as members of the pack. And in the end, they wind up just destroying the countryside. It takes a cabal of wizards casting spells to destroy them. Yeah. They completely reorganize the world from the perspective of how dangerous they can be, because the players figured out a nice loophole to abuse, and the DM just ran with it.
Yeah.
So yes, they are doing live, and you get a chance to see them and, and watch them.
When you say live, is it in front of an audience, sort of?
It will be live? Actual people, as opposed to cartoons.
So you mean live action?
Yes.
Sort of like TV or whatever.
Something more like standard action.
Yeah.
Except they'll be standing around a table instead of actually playing their characters within the setting.
Easier to find a location to do that, that's for sure.
Although, every once in a while, the table does get flipped, so that's going to have to get replaced.
Oh, yeah.
There's medical injuries to pay for on that sort of thing. They do get into, physical fights themselves.
Well, I probably shouldn't bring it up, but I saw a really funny, there are probably dozens of these that I don't even know about, but I've seen a few funny D&D shows of a group playing D&D, and they end up drawing knives on each other. I can't remember what it's called, but oh well.
I'll cut you like this was Vorpal, man. Like it was Vorpal.
Just a very dysfunctional. I guess there might be something to complain about with that, because gamers aren't violent or dysfunctional, but maybe they are a little bit sometimes. I don't know.
As a nerdy trope, we are not exactly presented as the most functional subcategory of humanity.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Although, I think most groups, I hear from some groups who get annoyed because they're like, no, our group is perfectly normal, and we're just normal people who hang out together and play a game, and those people are probably the majority. But
that doesn't tell a good story. The balanced group, and their wonderful adventures doesn't hold a candle to the meta story of the slap heard round the con, where Nitro Ferguson touched Bob Herzog's dice, and Bob I'm going to use this word. I don't like to break this word out, but Bob just bitch smacked him. Just right in front of everyone at the table. And there was a big fight, and, the convention security had to get called, and they couldn't hold back the ruckus that was forming over whether or not it was right or not to touch another gamer's dice. As, all the nerds take sides, and then it just becomes this massive fracas.
Yeah.
That tells a fun story. Is it functional? No, it's very much dysfunctional. But it tells a story. And that's a sacrifice you have to make.
That's cool. So Knights of the Dinner Table. Look for that. Look for the live action. It'll probably be on YouTube, I'm imagining.
Donate to the Kickstarter.
They have a Kickstarter up, so I can link to that too.
I don't know if they're going to get an actual monkey, or if they're just going to get somebody in a monkey suit to play the monkey.
Ooh, that's something to find out. Look forward to. I wonder if they earn enough on the Kickstarter, they can afford a real monkey.
They might be able to afford a real monkey. It won't smoke real cigarettes. That's a guarantee, though.
Okay. Do monkeys not do that? I would imagine that's probably something they don't do so much.
They don't teach that anymore, and yeah, I can see why they would want to actually get a monkey to really start smoking. So that might have to get left by the wayside.
Yeah, indeed. In other we're not going to do too much other news, but I do want to mention GotaCon coming up once again. I'm sort of always pushing it. In case you haven't heard already, in case you haven't listened to our other podcast, GotaCon in
case
Victoria,
you're the forgetful type.
Victoria, British Columbia, February 28th and March 1st.
In the heart of downtown this year, too.
Downtown, the Victoria Convention Center. Is that what it was? Yeah. Yeah,
just across on the back side of the Empress.
Yeah. I'll be there, and I'll be playing games, and I'll be hanging around. And,
I'll be there. I'll be snooping. I'll be putting in silent auction bids.
Yeah, that's Ryan's favorite part of the convention. I like to listen to the panels and people talking about stuff. I don't know why that is. I like people talking, and I also like to get some gaming in if I can too. So
yes.
Some role playing games. I'm not running a game this year, but I did think about it. I might maybe next year or at a different convention. So GotaCon coming up.
I may consider playing 4th edition before D&D Next comes out.
Okay, have you not ever tried 4th edition D&D?
I've read it. Or at least parts of it. And there's some ideas I do like for some higher currency values, and the magic dust concept of disenchanting your not needed magical items for use in enchanting later on was a nice idea I saw.
Okay, yeah.
It was just too far removed, and I didn't have the time or the money to get started.
Yeah.
But I am squirreling away money. I've already squirreled away the $20 for February. Because remember, if you were to put $20 a month away every month for this year until when it comes out this summer, you should be able to buy all 3 main books at $40 a piece, except for taxes.
Of the 5th edition of D&D.
D&D 5.0.
5.0. Yeah, well, they always do in more editions.
So, just saying, it's like Christmas. Squirrel a little money away ahead of time. When the time comes, you don't go broke.
Although, that now that you're talking about it, it reminds me, sometimes I will wait on the edition because sometimes they'll have mistakes in the first printing or whatever, so...
That can become very valuable, though.
Although, I suppose those copies would be more valuable, yeah.
Provided you keep the book in good condition.
Yeah. Well, in some ways I'd rather have the more correct version, though, just for that. Stickler, sort of.
I'm hoping to have a physical copy and something I can use like a. Well, they have the hypertext D20 system.
Yep.
Which is basically all the open game content for 3.5.
Yeah.
Hyperlinked, and it's beautifully hyperlinked. And I spend more time looking on that than I do actually opening up my player's handbook.
That's true, yeah. I don't know what the plans are with 5th edition, if they're going to do something.
I got my fingers crossed that they're going to be more open than they were with 4th. Yeah. I'm hoping, when 3rd edition came out, the open game license just let everybody in, and it started a golden age of gaming. Yeah. Everyone was doing a D20 something. And as long as you learned that one, you could go anywhere and do almost anything. And sure, there were variations, like Eberron with their action points, and Star Wars with their vitality points and hit point difference. But by and large, you learned the one system, you could go anywhere. And I kind of miss that. Yeah. I miss seeing the third-party stuff. Because there were some great ideas that would not have flown. It would not have made a core setting for like next to Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms. But it was good enough to stand on its own merits as a wacky, pick this up, just because you're going to love it's joie de vivre.
What setting was that?
All sorts of settings I saw.
Okay.
Just some adventure modules. Like I have, I think it's Penumbra Press's Beyond the Ebon Mirror, which is like a very nice D&D version of something like Alice in Wonderland meets, evil clones sort of thing.
Okay, so that was a third-party one.
I think you've played through that.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a great adventure, and I am happy to own it. But would it have been able to be published if the Open Game license was more strict, and would have only seen publishing through maybe Dragon or Dungeon magazines? Maybe not. There's a big demand there as to what can get published, versus how much people are submitting.
Okay.
So, that's why I like the open third-party stuff. It allows you to... There's a lot of crud that got published out there, too. A lot of bad stuff. A lot of stuff that just wasn't needed. Poorly done. But you know what? Cream rises to the top. So, you get just pick the best of everything. Or the wackiest of some stuff. Like, I got some nice stuff on 3rd edition Chronomancy. Time traveling and time, divination spells. I enjoyed that. But I don't think D&D, proper was going to do anything. They had mentions of it back in 2nd edition, but it wasn't popular enough to get them to convert immediately to 3rd. So, you got to rely on a third-party person to publish it.
Yep. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. Should I say I'm optimistic? Yeah, sure, why not? I hope that they do something like that for 5th edition.
Well, those who have played 5th edition really seem to have noted that the designers were paying attention. Mm-hmm. So hopefully the legal team was paying attention too.
Yeah.
And learning what you can do by letting everybody play in the playground.
Yeah.
So, I got my fingers crossed. That's my official prediction.
But I mean, the other thing is Pathfinder is still going to be there, 5th edition or not. There's still going to be that alternative, and I'm not sure. I think Pathfinder is still outselling D&D as of right now, but that's because D&D is sort of, I don't know, it's ramping up to 5th, right?
Well, that's the thing is once they announced 5th edition was coming out, why buy 4th?
Yeah. Exactly.
Mind you, I'm still picking up 3rd edition stuff when I can find it.
Oh yeah, well me too. If I see a 2nd edition book that I am interested in, I'll buy it. So. Oh well, yeah. If it's a 2nd edition, I'll buy it almost irregardless of what it is. I mean, that's not easy to find sometimes anymore. So pick it up. If it turns out I already have a copy, sell it on eBay. It'll go to a good home. At least that's my theory. Yep. That's cool. I want to remind people that we have an email address. Send us email if you have things that you want to share with us. And we're interested in finding out, too, about what people are doing in gaming. So if you have a project, a Kickstarter, something like that, we'll be willing to talk about it on the show if you send us a little information about it. So I think we're going to start doing some more of that, just promoting, little guys who need... I don't know. What do they need from us? Just interest and enthusiasm.
They need the attention.
And so, so we're looking for that. If you have any of that, send us email. Send us feedback on the podcast, anything we talk about during the discussion, thesimulationist@gmail.com. And visit our Facebook page. Like us on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel too, in case that's how you prefer to consume your podcasts.
If you have a nice remedy for throat problems, well, send that, please.
Yeah, send Ryan an email. Well, you're taking lots of like little Halls and...
See, I've got Halls, I've got Cold Effects, I've got Robitussin, I've got Dayquil, I've got oregano oil, I've got teas, I've got ginger, I've got nukes, I've got knives, I've got sticks.
Okay. Is that a reference to something?
Aliens.
Okay.
I could have gone to the Sonic Electronic Ball Busters, but...
Well, you just did.
Technically, that seems a little high-powered for my current affliction.
Probably the main thing is just time. I'm sure by next week you'll be right as rain.
I hope so. I mean, I almost lost my voice a couple times towards the end of the shift at work.
Yeah.
So, another 2 days off coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to relax and sleep, and I'll wake up one morning, cough really hard, and everything just, it all works out beautifully now. Because, well, I have this odd dream that keeps coming back to me when I'm sick.
Yep.
That it's like my body is trying to produce a cocoon around my head. And then I'll just break open the cocoon and it'll be like a butterfly transformation. It'll just be like, fresh and new.
That's kind of cool.
I would love if I could do something like that.
Butterfly came out.
Just like open up, like use my nose as like a door hinge. Open up, replace my sinuses. Click, click. New sinuses, they're
fresh. Since you
fresh.
brought up Alien with the reference, what if that alien had been like a butterfly? Do you think that movie would have been better? Or like, I don't know, less scary if the alien was like a pretty alien and did all the same things, but like, imagine? I
think it'd be creepy as heck, especially in the first one when the guy's eating, after, we finally got that face hugger off your face. And they're eating, and they're all laughing, and all of a sudden, and he gets the chest, and all of a sudden bursts open, and out comes like a just a swarm of butterflies. Just because they're beautiful doesn't make it any less disturbing.
Or like a My Little Pony pops out. It's like, it's Fluttershy. Fluttershy.
It'd still be pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
Especially if they keep it just as visceral.
Yeah, if they keep all the gore in it. Anyways, I don't know why I thought of that. You in your dream, your butterfly coming out of you.
On the other hand, I think there hasn't been enough done for communal and eusocial insects as a predatory threat in science fiction.
Yeah.
It's mostly the one big alien. I would like to see, you've put wrong chemicals in with ants, and now they formed a eusocial swarming mass, and and then they just swarm all over the countryside as these huge blankets of them coming and eating everything and destroying everything in their path.
Well, there's Starship Troopers. Kind of feels like that.
Yeah, but those are still big bugs. Still really big.
You thinking little bugs?
I'm thinking little bugs, because they, it's like, big bug, click, I've locked the door. Unless the bug crashes down the door, it can't get through. Little bugs, find a way.
Yeah, well, and...
There's always a spider somewhere close to you.
Stargate did a series. They weren't bugs, they were robots, but they were kind of bug-like.
Bugs and robots have many similarities, I will say that.
Well, they start off as, bug-sized robots, or even smaller. I think they're replicators is what they're called.
But it's still not quite the same thing. I would definitely like to see more of the more insect as an insect, not just now the grasshoppers are 2 stories tall. No. I just want to see. I want to see like a swarm of mutant locusts that eat flesh.
Okay, or
come on, Sci-Fi Network, you can do this. You did Sharknado. You can do worse.
You know how they have like the swarms of locusts in Africa, I'd take for example, but they also occasionally in the States with cicadas and stuff like that. They have just like so many of them all at once that they can like, I don't know if they've ever collapsed roofs, but imagine like, a sci-fi setting where there's that much bugs that they just basically collapse your roof on you and like suffocate anybody who's like Just because there's just a wave of them, like,
And they land all over you, and no matter what you do, you can't get rid of enough of them.
Yeah.
And you're trying to just breathe, and you're brushing them off your mouth, but they keep landing on there. They're getting in.
Oh, well, I think I should apologize to our listeners for that image, but it would be cool.
But if you had to apologize for it, that means it would have made for a powerful scene in a movie.
Yeah, that's it.
And so why are they not doing this?
Well, yeah, just mundane old bugs, like what the things that you can do with.
Well, you could make it into a nice metaphor for like, don't spray too many pesticides because we don't know what they do. Yeah. So like someone puts like a pesticide on to keep off the I don't know, something else like potato bugs, and so they spray it on the potatoes, and the locusts eat it, and the locusts go just absolutely crazy, insanely violent. That's why they start eating flesh, man.
Yeah, you start eating people. Well, imagine, like,
it also makes them incredibly randy, and that's why there's so many of them. They're just reproducing without regards to any cycle. No time of the year, they're just reproducing all the time. Eggs laid everywhere. Disgusting.
I guess they'd have to be eating people or, like, drinking blood or something to
get the nutrients for it, man.
Or whatever, yeah. But, yeah, they have, the movies, like, The Day After Tomorrow, and, the movies about the end of the world and global warming or whatever. And they don't... Well, I don't know. I think there may have been scenes of locusts or whatever, but imagine, taking it one level further.
They were more focused with a polar vortex in that one. Where they're moving with the helicopters, with the royal family, and then the polar vortex comes down like, oh no, we're getting the cold from space itself, and then it's too cold to let the engine run. I think they said minus 50. So, once again, Toronto was able to run at minus 50.
I don't know if they had airplanes flying that day, but...
I think they did. Not as many, but, the essential stuff.
Okay.
But, you could still maintain a society at 50 below zero. Not forever, but you could do it. But, no, in like, the movie, it's like, 50 below zero, everything's freezing, and then, like, the chopper blades stop because, oh no, the engine is too cold to work. And everyone crashes.
Yeah.
That's completely not how physics works, how meteorology works, how pretty much anything works, but it made for a nice scene. C'est la vie.
Yeah. I was still getting through our social media stuff.
Yeah.
I tweet at Spaceboot1. Spaceboot numeral 1 is my Twitter handle. I don't know why I chose that one. It just happens to be sort of random, but that's what I picked for my Twitter handle. So follow me on Twitter, and Facebook, Twitter. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. You can look us up on rpgpodcast.net. There's also some other .net. Yeah, I think rpgpodcast.com actually. There's other some good role-playing games and other gaming podcasts that you can find on there that are really cool. And
find your niche, even if it isn't with us.
But
it should be with us because we're awesome.
Well, yeah, we hope that you continue to listen to this program. Thank you for listening so far. And now on to some more
main topic
stuff that we want to talk about. And
this week I managed to get a second viewing of the classic movie The Mole People. Long story short, Mesopotamian civilization gets sealed under the earth because of an earthquake and volcanic activity, and so they think they're the rest of the world. They think the rest of the world's being destroyed.
Yeah.
And so, they purposefully raise a group of mole people, and they believe the world is underground. That's all there is. It's just enough area to inhabit 150 people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the entire world. And it was kind of interesting seeing like how they survive and how they're able. Why is it 150? There just isn't enough room to grow the crops to support more than 150 people.
Yeah. So what do they do with people that are born over that?
Excess people are killed.
Yeah. Okay.
They have the Light of Istar, which turns out to be, spoiler alert, it turns out to be a shaft of light from the surface. And they're so albinoed that actual direct sunlight will burn them to death.
Okay.
They're so albino, a flashlight hurts them when you shine it at them. So, It's pretty bad. But it occurred to me a couple things. One, why are there no mole people in D&D? You got your bat people that just Mawdu. You got your dwarves. You got elves underground. You got your weird tentacle things that aren't supposed to be. You've got your blind Grimlocks. Why no love for the mole people? What's up there, man?
Well, there's a maybe it's a badger person now that I'm thinking of it. There's a gnome hybrid from the Forgotten Realms. I think it's like a knoll, not a knoll, because a knoll is a different thing. But there's some things if you look around.
But they're not as default. Like when you think about, what happens if you dig deep enough underground and find an underground cavern? There's mole people, and then there's like giant albino salamanders, and your mind conjures all these tropes up.
Well, couldn't you just use the stats for goblins for mole people?
With a burrow speed, yes.
Okay.
But there doesn't seem to be a love for having mole people in the Underdark. The same way you talk about like, let's go with modern day sci-fi stuff. What's underneath the earth? Well, they got giant, like lava, centered worms boring through the earth, and they've got mole people, and they've got this and that. Doesn't seem to happen in the sci-fi, like pseudo medieval fantasy.
In the D&D world. I guess.
Do you know? Can you say? I think it might be because of this reason X. Is there anything that crops out as to why not?
No. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, underground they have dwarves and gnomes. I mean, and they have deep gnomes.
So like the niche is already filled.
That's one. Yeah, one guess is that niche is filled.
See, but for me, I don't get it. Like, I would think that the drow who live down there and they don't want to do real work themselves would love to have somehow magically engineered their own slave race. And they're mole people, so that's how they dig. They do the heavy lifting. They do the physical work. The drow coordinate everything, as is befitting their dark, princely habitat.
Well, as much as the Underdark is a pretty integral part of the D&D milieu and mythos, it's not used as a specific location for dungeons that much, because often dungeons will be just, it's under this castle, or it's this complex that's dug only so far. And the Underdark is a whole different thing.
Although
because
with the Underdark, what you could do is like, we'll just say, roll 2 dice 6 for the amount of locations, and then you just randomly connect them up. And then those connections indicate the passageways to go from A to B to C to D or wherever. Mm-hmm. And then each of those locations is effectively a room, and then how is it really all that different from a dungeon?
Yeah, it's like a really big dungeon.
And then, instead of saying, okay, you walk down 40 feet down the corridor and enter into the room at the end, it's like you travel through the corridors and the narrow passageways for what it seems to be, like untold time, but according to your pocket watch, it's only an hour. And then, you finally emerge into another cavern, this time with, like a sparkling, like a iridescent rainbow coming down from some sort of northern light as the water trickles down from the ceiling.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Well, that's something else I'll bring up in a bit. But in that case, it's just a very widespread dungeon. The Underdark is basically that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it gets me. It's like, mole people would really suit it. You need like a servitor race of mooks. Just, like, oh no, the evil guys are mad at us. They've sent their minions at us. Now we gotta defeat Mole Man. And what are they? Effectively goblins with a burrow speed. Maybe not through solid rock, but a burrow speed and a natural claw attack. Blind sense, no vision. That's about it. That's all the real difference you need. And yet no one's done it. No one's really taken and said, I'm going to make this my own. This is how you're going to know you're in this realm here. You've got the mole people.
Yeah, well, for sure. It's a good mole people. It'd be great in D&D. I don't know. Yeah, like as far as humanoids go, there are so many in D&D, and there's always more, and that's fine because you need more, because you want to tell more stories that are human related, because if like all these mindless monsters are great and all, like the tentacled monsters, but you can only do so much of them before you need like humanish characters to interact with and have that kind of story.
And some of them have like level prerequisites. Like mind flayers are kind of awesome. I will say this, but you don't send them after a first level party.
Yeah.
So you do benefit well from having these mooks. They could be mind controlled minions of the mind flayers.
Yeah. Well, you can do a mind flayer campaign. Like, I think they're CR, like, maybe 6 or something, level 6. So you do about 5 levels worth of working up. Well, you can encounter them earlier than that, though, of course, because you might not necessarily fight them. Well, you might fight one, like, if you're party level 4 characters, you might fight one mind flayer. That'd probably beat him, no problem. Well, you'd spend some resources or whatever, depending on...
Might lose a player, but you could probably win overall.
Actually, yeah, the Mind Flayer has a pretty devastating attack, right?
They're stunning Ultra Blast, and then if they hit with all 4 tentacles, they eat your brain the next round. Automatic, no save.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
That'd be a good story. It's like so-and-so's brain got eaten by the Mind Flayers.
I hate when that happens to my players.
Yeah.
I will say this, in the one campaign that happened, thank goodness for that Staff of Resurrection. I mean, when the Scion can't move, he can still manifest his powers.
Yeah.
But when his brain is missing, that's pretty devastating for him. He kind of needed that. Not going to lie.
Yeah.
Not going to sugarcoat it.
But yeah, well, and yeah, Mind Flayer campaign. You can also start with sort of thralled humanoids and some other minor monsters, and work your way up fairly easily. It wouldn't take too long to get to the Mind Flayers.
But I know a lot of people don't read this part of the entry in the monster stats, but I am big on the ecology. What is the difference between a kobold, a goblin, a gnoll, and we'll say in this case, a mole man?
Okay.
Where you find them. If I'm not mistaken, kobolds are in wooded lands. They're in the forests. Goblins are in warm plains, but they're temperate plains. Warm plains, you go for the gnolls, and underground, you go for the mole folk.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're in the savannah, you encounter gnolls. You're in like the temperate, it snows in the winter sort of plains. Goblins. You're in the woods. Kobolds. You're underground. Mole people. And that really helps make sure the players see it as something different. Not just, okay, so we're underground, but we're still encountering the same monsters. Does it really matter? Really?
Well, you could have a game world in which the kobolds are such an ancient race that they've split off into multiple areas and sort of, divided off into different populations and sort of evolved from there. And they might have little stat differences too. And
in which case you're more likely to describe them differently.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, these are, like the chip-tooth kobolds of the craggy badlands. If you're lucky, they will wear your skin, because that's honorific for them. You will be such a good opponent, they will wear you as a cloak.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I like it.
So that differentiates them. And honestly, there's not a lot stat-wise to differentiate the low-level mooks aside from where you encounter them. So I would like to see something other than goblins in the Underdark. I think mole people could really make it their own. Goblins, they stick to the surface. They'll spend some time, like in their goblin warrens and all that because they don't like the light. Mm-hmm. But come nighttime, they'll make their raids.
Yeah.
Mole folk don't even bother going up during the daytime. That moon is too bright, man. That moon is just too bright. Turn it down first. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, my thought on goblins has always been that they're they rely on humans. They're like what do you call it?
Scavenger species?
Yeah, maybe
Parasitic?
scavenger, maybe almost parasitic, sort of on a societal level. Anyways, they live on the fringes of civilized like human society. And
I kind of picture them as being like dark gnomes.
Mhm.
Gnomes don't have that much of a society without like humanity or I suppose elvanity. They attach on to other civilizations. In which case, goblins would too. They would leech from it more than they would contribute.
Yeah.
But in my ideal campaign world, you would see goblins in the city. People wouldn't like them, but you'd see them there. They would be tolerated begrudgingly, even if, they're subject to fantastic racism, because, it's like, oh, dang, dirty, goblins and kobolds. You keep to your downtrodden districts. You're not welcome here in the upscale neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think something like that. I'd do something like that in a campaign world. Although, World of Warcraft has a different sort of take on goblins. Are more technological, I guess.
They did help me rethink what goblins mean to me.
Yeah.
Before there was just 4 hit points and a dagger. Even if they called it a short sword for everyone else, it was a dagger.
Yeah.
But yeah, the World of Warcraft really made me think, no, they're smart enough at least to have personality. Therefore, they're like people. I've been killing people all these editions.
They're humanoid.
Oh no.
Yeah, but in some of the D&D mythology or the backstory or the lore, I guess, has kobolds and gnomes having a thing. Like
Yeah.
Kobolds and gnomes, so as opposed to goblins. So goblins are sort of something else, and then kobolds are somehow,
Well, since the thing is, if you're looking for analogs, then the dwarves have the orcs.
Okay, that would be elves to orcs, but okay, dwarves.
Elves have more or less elves. Either the drow or their own backstabbing, perfidious nature.
Okay, yeah, the elves and dark elves.
Or just the elves in their own selves. They're so high and mighty on their own pedestals, they bring their own downfall.
The elves and the shady elves. Ooh, shady elves. I wonder if that's been done.
There have been shadow elves in the Ravenloft campaign setting.
Yeah.
Don't know how much they went in. I think there was just the one splat book for them. Now that I think about it, I might want to create some shady elves myself for a nice demo playing shadow.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They're not drow, so they're not so evil, but they're much more playing the mischievous aspect you see in folklore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should try and get back to what we were doing with the Underdark.
So
mole people.
Mole people, they're one thing. And the other bit was that the whole world underneath there, the Neo-Sumerian, I suppose, only could support 150 people. And that was an interesting point because, one, they didn't phrase 150, they said 2.5 times 60. Because 60 was a holy number for them.
Okay.
So instead of saying 150, be like, no, 2.5 times 60. Because that's where our counting system ends. 60, and then 60 and 1, 60 and 2. So, points for them actually knowing that and doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they also knew that, resources are not unlimited. You can't just, hey look, mushrooms for everybody. Let's have 1,000 people down here. And so even if 150 people, including the mole people subspecies, because they used to be humans 5,000 years ago.
Okay.
Even if that's not what you consider a stable breeding population for size, at least they made sure to think about, no, man, you can't just, grow everything you want, all you want. And so that's something else I would like to see more of in an Underdark sort of thing. Where are these things, where are the ecosystems coming from?
Yeah, okay.
Because,
what did they eat in the movie?
lots of mushrooms. The mole people would grind up the soil to make it suitable for growing mushrooms, and then they just till the soil. There was some fish. They were able to make some. They had some goats with them. So I guess like goat meat was like, oh man, I got goat meat and the milk.
Yeah.
So you could still have decently strong bones, get your calcium in.
Yeah. They wouldn't have much vitamin D down there.
No. And just me, you get vitamin D from the sunlight, but that'll kill you. And so that got me thinking. Is the Morrowind game from the Elder Scrolls had a nice thing whereby they had like these small underground warrens where it was just like these giant maggots really that would lay eggs. And instead of having chickens in the game, oh hey, you get these like maggot eggs. It's like, well, why don't you put those underground? And like where's the new cheese coming from? Where are the trophic levels? How's everything coming from?
Yeah.
You could have just these wonderful, fantastic biomes created out of things like I'll take two off the top of my head. One, lava. The whole thing doesn't rely on light to get the energy. They're all heat-based.
Yeah, like at the ocean vents, those extremophiles.
Yeah, and then you could have the whole thing based off of like heat transfer. So you go down there and you're going to start growing stuff on you whether you want it or not because you're putting out body heat there, Mr. I'm exothermic. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh no, I'm growing like a fuzz on me. And if you don't like constantly scrape the mold off you, you get permanently like infested with the fuzzy mold, man.
Okay, I'm not sure if that fits with lava heat living creatures because wouldn't they require a lot more heat than a human body? But
well, I would be like the equivalent of like an Arctic sort of thing.
Okay.
There's still sunlight in the Arctic.
Yeah. And
so that's where you get your lichens and stuff growing. There's still some body heat coming off. So if you're, like 2 or 3 cavern areas removed from the direct magma vent, well, then, you're at your Arctic equivalency.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm growing the mold on me. Gotta go up get some sunlight and have it burn off.
Yeah.
But it's those things that would really make a setting. Like, dude, you gotta be careful around here. You gotta constantly wash yourself or, get the powder on you. Otherwise, you're gonna get moldy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I like that idea for a deep, dark dungeon.
How's this for a biome base? Magic. Magic items have an aura. Okay. You could have an entire really bizarre ecology that thrives off of magical auras as being equivalent to like light. So you could journey to the Underdark and find the mystic long forgotten sword, but if you take it away, you've killed off the entire ecosystem because that is its prime energy source. So there's an interesting conundrum. The players might go, okay, we're good aligned and we got a druid, so we can't just take it and run. Mm-hmm. What we'll do is we'll leave 4 moderately, powered magical items behind in the 4 corners, and they'll be not too far off of one big, powerful magic item in the center.
Right.
And so, then you could have the thing like, why are they raiding the surface? They want to expand their own territory. They're not after you. They're not after slaves. They're after magical items. They'll go after the wizards and the noblemen.
Yeah.
And they'll raid them for their magic legacy items, so they can take it back down and transplant into a new empty cavern complex and start up a new bizarre arcane ecology.
Interesting. And these creatures, though, are we talking mole people still?
Mole people could be one of them. You could do a variant on mole people. They're blind in this case, but they can detect magic at will. So they can smell or otherwise see magic. In which case, you could say that a person wearing magic items is not considered, like 50% mischance. They know exactly where you are. They can see you.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting variant you might want to do on them. I do like the magic one because that does explain some of the more odd creatures you see in D&D. The magic-eating creatures, the rust monsters, the more bizarre stuff seems to fit better when you realize the entire ecology is based off of magical radiation.
Yeah, for sure.
You could also make it based off of like water. It utilizes a crude form of combined with some basic heat to do like a fission sort of thing. Splits the hydrogen water against each other and then comes back together for the energy pump, and that's where the energy cycles through. So it's a really damp, like a subterranean swampland ecology.
Okay.
Right? So it's really hot and muggy sort of thing. Hotter and muggier than you get on a surface swamp, because the heat can't radiate up into the sky.
True.
It comes back and it's just, it's so hot and it's so humid here. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you can get that. Yeah, in caves and in the deeper mines in our planet Earth, it is hot down below a certain depth.
And I will reference Wang Dong in China, which is a massive cavern complex. And there are some areas that are so deep in there that they've got trees growing up, in the areas where there's light. They've got trees, and they've got rain clouds that form in the cavern area that don't come out of the cavern, and it rains just in there. It'll be raining in there, and it'll be dry outside.
That's cool. I've heard of buildings. I think buildings with large indoor spaces sometimes do have their own weather systems form inside the building.
Well, you can technically see the basics of that forming if you were to leave a pop bottle in your car. The condensation that forms at the top.
Yeah.
That's basically the stop of the hydro cycle. That's how it goes, man. So all you need is a large enough central cavern, then you can have a bunch of radiating out to smaller cavern areas, and then you could have these wonderful ecologies that make more sense as opposed to, it's just another limestone cavern, drip, 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 slippery floor, nothing there. And I see a lot of that in the stuff I read. I would like it to be so much more. I would love to see these weird, crazy ecologies.
Well, you need some of that as a baseline. Because that's what people expect with underground. They expect that it's very dark. It's just rock. The whole, that's what you encounter. But you need a few spicy encounters too. Like
I want the dwarves to have like an underground area where they can grow giant mushroom trees.
Yeah, giant mushroom trees. Yeah.
They can grow peat. The average dwarven forge does not rely on coal or charcoal. They utilize peat burning. Less smoke in the air that way when they're doing it.
Sure.
I just like to see more of that.
Peat comes from bogs, which is rotting organic material.
In which case it'd be like the swampland I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
They'd just go in there and they'd hew out bits of that, and then they'd let their waste filter down through there, and that's where all the dwarf poop goes.
Okay, yeah.
Now here's something I want to actually mention to you, and I'll ask this. In Minecraft, how difficult would it be to include code that would allow you to put farmland on the bottom side of a dirt square?
Yeah, theoretically, I think that should be possible.
Because I would love to see that and maybe a few new things to grow that grow down.
Yeah.
And then that way...
What would that, what are you thinking of?
We could do like viney type plants. You could do like, I'm going to call it moss grape. It'd be like grapes, but they'd be all mossy. And that grows down, and then you get yourself like a bushel of, moss grapes. And then you get to eat that for a little bit of, less, maybe not as good as a carrot, something.
Yeah, I think that's possible to do with anything's possible. In a video game, it's just, you just gotta code it, so yeah.
And it would be kind of awesome to see, because then you could see people's, this is my farm, in my own castle. Growing up from here, I have the wheat, and growing down from the ceiling, I have the moss grapes.
Yeah, you've played with vines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. But if you want it specifically to grow out of dirt, yeah, you could do that.
And I would love to see that because my ideal dwarven fortress, what the dwarves would have for where they get all their food, which would probably be a lot of mushrooms. So you could have like upside down mushrooms growing out of the ceiling in Minecraft.
Yeah.
But I picture the dwarven farming area to be kind of like a log, where it just branches into small areas, small little nodules, and then the whole surface area is where they would grow their crops.
Like sort of a moss or a
moss, lichen, mushroom, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, some mushrooms at the bottom grow up, and then you got your lichens growing down from the ceiling, and then they harvest them up, and so that way they make most effective 3D use out of it, because otherwise it's just like, well, what are you doing with the ceiling? Nothing. So, you know, you're living in a 3D world, but you're only making two-dimensional use out of it.
Yeah, good point.
And I think the underground ecology is an area where you could really have that go good. Like, everyone remembers the city of the jangling, was it Hilter? In the Nine Hells, where the chain demons were?
Jangling Hitler? No, Jangling Hyder, I think.
Hyter, yes, that sounds right.
I think that's how I always said it.
And they've got, it's basically hooked up to the plane up above or some sort of line, and it's a city upside down.
Yeah, a suspended city, suspended by chains. Very cool.
And so you could have that like naturally happening in an underground setting so much more realistically than that chain demon metropolis.
I like that thought, yeah.
So, you know, you could have not just war, like, who are you fighting against here? We're fighting against the Topsiders. And then it'd be like, you can have like your Desmodu bat people that live up there, and they've got like their fungal, you know, I suppose the fungus would go like to huge size, so it'll be like a fungal jungle, if you allow me to use a bad term.
Okay, I'll allow it.
So you'd have like their fungal jungle up at the top side, and on the bottom side it'd be like the swamplands. And so you'd have like...
Oh, you need to rhyme with swamp. Gomp, no. Flump.
How about marsh? Marsh sounds like it could rhyme easier.
Marsh, garsh. Mushroom, marsh. Mushroom right now. Mushroom.
The mushrooms.
Okay.
The mushroom people versus the bat folk.
Versus the fungal jungle and the mushrooms.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, you could have your veggie pygmies down at the swamp level.
And veggie pygmies.
Yeah, that's actually a term. You can look it up.
Yeah, that's in D&D.
Yeah, so you have your veggie pygmies down on the bottom side in your mushroom swamp, and up on the top you got your bat people with your fungal jungle.
Yeah.
And then you don't need to be like worried like, oh no, yeah, we got to squeeze this one area. No, man, they live like right upstairs, buddy. And so, you know, you could have some really nice like situations going on. You could have an entire campaign based on that. Pick a side. You all play the one side. Try and wipe out the other.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
Not maybe a grand epic campaign, but something.
So I could play as a mole man?
You play as a mole man, yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Mole man, veggie pygmy. You play as all sorts of the weird stuff. Heck, if you let me sit down and design it, maybe I can come up with a sentient slime for you.
Ooh, sentient slime.
Yeah, you get a huge bonus to escape artist checks.
I have seen somebody wrote up. It's some like not even third party, but just somebody on some blog. But it was really cool. I'm gonna try and look it up for you and post it. But somebody did make a playable like a humanoid slime, or it might have been a slime infused human, something like that. So you're a playable character race, but you have certain properties of slimes.
I can see
really cool.
Low constitution and strength scores.
Yeah, I suppose that's your drawback. I mean, yeah, you can
without
fit
an
your
actual
spaces,
rigid muscular system.
Bonus to escape artist.
Oh yeah. You qualify as being 2 sizes smaller for what areas you can fit through.
Yeah.
Maybe a bonus. Maybe you suffer from fire-based spells. You dry out a little easier.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if you have exposed, like if your entire skin is slimy and damp and exposed,
Yeah, you could do fire and cold vulnerabilities, but an electrical resistance, 5 points.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll look up to see what someone else did about it, but yeah.
Maybe I'll sit down this week and make my own. I kind of like where this is going. I'll put a pin in this.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, heck, just the molds and fungus alone. I mean, if you got a strong stomach, Google that stuff up, and then just let your mind expand it out to the size of a redwood.
Yeah, expand as if you were on mushrooms. So.
Exactly. The whole thing, man, you don't even know what's going on, man. The entire biome is psychedelic.
Yeah, well, try describing that to your characters, like the different feathery mushrooms and bulbous like circles, and then the
you touch it and
mushrooms.
it wheezes, and the big gaseous cloud comes out.
Yeah.
Congratulations, it's the equivalent of being covered in smoke. Makes for nice tactical things. We gotta get out of here. Smack the ball, shroom. And all of a sudden, obscured, like sight.
Yeah, it's like it's virtually an alien world, and it can be in the same below the feet of the player characters the whole time. There's just this
up above is a fantasy
world.
Campaign world of Generica.
Yeah.
Dwarves, elves, whatever. They're all fighting, doing the standard stuff. The real fun stuff is happening down here. And then, if you want to keep going even further, let's take this to the old hollow earth theory.
Right.
Some people used to believe you go deep enough into the earth and you come out into like an inverted world. Instead of the earth curving as we know it does, it curves inward.
Yeah,
and there's a sun at the center of the earth.
And somehow gravity points back out, right? I guess because the shell of the earth would still... How would that work? I don't know.
The main mass of gravity being...
It would still point...
Somehow.
Technically it would point inward, but I guess magic or just...
People were kind of stupid back then.
Yeah.
We didn't understand plate tectonics, how anything like that went. But you could do that in a fantasy campaign world. You can have that be an actual thing. Yeah, there's a second sun at the very center of the world, and it's bright enough to do it. The D&D game for the Sega Genesis had that happen.
Okay.
Any civilization about to get wiped out gets instead teleported to like a wildlife preserve that was on the inside of a planet.
Huh.
Things didn't go well, but whatever. That, I think, has a lot of playability, and I haven't seen any real game world really own up to that since way back in the early days of 2nd edition.
Well, yes and no, because sort of a world inside the world is it's kind of cool and interesting to think about. But as far as an alternate world, I mean, it's almost the same sort of deal as another planet. Like, imagine if your campaign setting had 2 habitable planets. It'd be almost the same sort of as Alien, I suppose.
But why can't you have all that? Why can't you have like a hollow Earth outside of the Earth? And you know what? The moon's inhabited too. We got 3 of them. All of them are habited, and you can see people doing stuff up there.
Yeah, I guess the benefit of having that hollow Earth is that you can have connections to ancient civilizations, and you can lose people down there and forget them for thousands of years, and then suddenly poof, they've been sleeping this whole time, and now Cthulhu's back. He was sleeping at the center of the Earth, or whatever.
Or you could have things go really alien, like it's not a regular sun at the center of the Earth. It's the black sun.
Okay, black sun that puts up black light.
Yeah, everything neon really glows, and everyone's T-shirts have those
like
little specks.
One giant rave under there.
I suddenly like the Drow a little bit more now, just considering that their entire world is not about them being princes and princesses and forcing the other races to do their work. It's they get the other races to do the work because all the Drow want to do all day is fucking rave out, man. And the Drow just have the entire culture based around the rave party.
Yeah.
Underneath the black sun. And they enslave other races to do the work for them so they can party more.
That actually, it's funny because I always, when I think about the Drow and like how you would portray them, it's hard to imagine them in a movie because everything's, dark. It's all in the dark. But if you did a sort of a blacklight aesthetic, I think that would be a very interesting way to do Drow in a movie. Like, it would actually look sort of interesting. It would keep people watching the screen.
And the special effects are relatively cheap too.
Yeah, blacklight is easy to do. Yeah.
So you
just get some paint and.
If you're ever thinking about doing, like your own movie, we've just helped you out with special effects. You're welcome.
Yeah, you can send your check to thesimulationist@gmail.com.
Or if nothing else, include us in the list of thanks at the end of the credits.
Okay, yeah, we'll take that too. No, but for real, how are we doing for time? Okay, we got a bit more time.
All right,
so we can keep on talking.
I suddenly think that the Drow having their center of their civilization going around a rave is a lot more believable than we're just a bunch of backstabbers, and that's what we do all day long.
Oh, well, there's a place for that too. And aren't there other races? There have been occasionally races which appear in D&D which are all about partying all the time. I guess some of the outsiders would be like that. Well, let me see. Ice Guard maybe, but I guess they're more like fighting all the time. I mean, fighting for them is a party.
It's not a permanent death, so...
Yeah.
So here's a question, though.
All right.
Would this internal world count as a separate plane? Could you use like a gate spell to get there, or would you have to teleport?
Good question. What would I do? I guess I would say teleport. Although the thing is, like, magic is supposed to be blocked by, a few feet of lead or so many feet of dirt. So I'm imagining, like, a couple miles of stone and earth might just block teleport spells.
Fair enough.
And it might not be gateable either, which is that's a good way to make it like hidden and stuff and like hard to access.
Until you talk to the dwarves, man, they built like a tower that goes high up in the regular world, straight down to the bowels of the earth, and pops out the other side and goes up high on that side too.
I'd like to imagine that, like...
Only they know how awesome their society is. They did that. Well, neither side knows how awesome their building is there.
Oh, hang on. So if you jump, like, if you're standing at on the outside of the Earth, and you jump into their tower, and you fall down it...
Assuming they have a nice hollow in the center.
Yeah, assuming it's straight and you fall down the middle. I guess you slow down and you fall back. Like, once you come out in the center of the Earth, you don't reach... the dark sun or whatever.
No.
But you start falling back out towards the surface again.
You go about 3/4 the distance up that other tower before you start going back.
But I suppose because the Earth is rotating, you might get a bit of Coriolis effect and slam into the side of the tower. Maybe you could like have a pole or something in the middle.
Oh, getting too close.
Batman, like bat pole, the bat pole. Is that what they had? Yeah. Did they call the bat pole?
They had the bat pole, yeah. Even Robin used the bat pole.
I remember they have fireman's poles, but I can't remember if they actually called them bat poles.
If they could have put bat on the label, they did.
Yeah, okay.
The bat crime fighting computer.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably certain they looked at Alfred and said, we could have called him the Bat Butler. But we're not going to because we respect him. Just enough.
But we don't respect our computer.
Well, they bought the computer. They have to, pay Alfred.
Yeah. I don't think Alfred would mind that much. He'd be like, yes, sir, or whatever Alfred says. What a good...
He would probably snark about it.
Was that East Indian that very, very good, Batman.
Which, by the way, might be an interesting way to take Alfred in the future.
An East Indian Alfred, yeah.
Yeah, you do like an alternate worlds Batman, and you just change as to where it's going. East Indian Alfred, maybe Batman's black this time around.
Yeah. Actually, I had a weird thought of like Batman living in Angkor Wat. Do you ever read about Angkor? It was like a giant temple in like Cambodia, and it got abandoned, but it was as big or bigger than a lot of the European cathedrals, and
it was built on an area of land that would probably normally not have been good enough to support its awesome size.
Yeah, I think because it was part of a big empire where they could draw resources from all different areas around it and stuff. So that it was supposed to
Keep
be
whipping people. Keep working on it.
It was a trade center and a religious center and a political center. But I was thinking it'd be cool if like Batman originated somewhere there or something like that, and he was like watching over that city. That'd be kind of.
I know they
story.
did have one with like an Aztec Batman.
Oh yeah.
But I think that was just a one shot, just for fun, and they played very fast and loose with their rules.
Yeah. Well, sorry, that's another tangent. Talking about the Hollow Earth.
Well, there's Bat people there. You can have them all pretend to be like Batman.
It's like, what's so special about this Batman? I'm Batman. I'm a Batman.
We're all Batman. Actually, I kind of want to see the Batman race now, the Batfolk race.
Yeah.
I'm Batfolk. I'm Batfolk.
Well,
I'm Batfolk.
Yeah, you mentioned the Desmodu, or I think that's what they call them, Desmodu.
They're not really. They're bat-like people.
They're Batfolk, not Batman.
They are bat-like people, but I'd like to see more of like an animal person with like a Batman sort of thing.
Okay.
I think it bears some interesting thing. I might have to look into see what some third parties have done.
Now, in the Hollow Earth, do bats hang right side up?
No, even then they'd have to hang from the underside of a tree, depending on which way gravity goes.
Right.
On the other hand, maybe that's what it is. Maybe gravity still points towards the sun at the center. Maybe the inside world is full of bat people and other flying subterranean things that can counteract the fall of gravity so that they don't fall into the sun.
And then there's like trees rooted into the ceiling, but they grow towards the center because that's where the light is.
Yeah, gravity pulls them that way.
Yeah.
So you'd have like, they mention every once in a while like, oh, what kind of plane can you make? All these weird planes where like gravity goes the other way and everyone's hanging on to the grass, to avoid falling into the sky.
Yeah.
This is where you can actually do it. You can actually have it sun at the center of your planet, and then you could just have it's effectively like a land of sky. There's a roof on it. What happens? You go to the other side. Oh, regular world. Okay, I understand now.
Imagine like living in that hollow world though, with the sun at the center. It's like if Dad just didn't come home from work one day, it's like, I guess he let go, because you wouldn't even know if someone fell into the sun. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I guess that was his day.
And that's why flying takes precedence.
Yeah.
Although that said, you're hanging on there as you sleep, and your feet twitch, and you let go, and you wake up just enough time to veer off a little bit so you don't fall in the sun, but you kind of, now I'm on the other side of the world.
That's going to take me weeks to walk back.
I guess I could try aiming for the sun again, but I don't. This is so problematic. I hate when this happens.
You might have like daredevils who with maybe gliders or hang gliders. Imagine that, like goblins or something with hang gliders in the center of the earth.
Mole people hang gliders.
Mole people hang gliders. Why don't? For some reason, I can't picture mole people trying to.
Because
fly.
hang gliding kind of requires line of sight. Mole people are usually blind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. If there's a dark sun, what is that? That's ultraviolet or black light or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go with goblins. Crazy goblins.
Yeah.
Dwarves just seem too dour about that sort of thing. They would never try that. But I would love to see a campaign world that does more with their Underdark than just say it's a bunch of wet caverns.
Oh yeah,
because
for sure. Yep.
Just you and me sitting down have been able to come up with such a much more interesting, entertaining world.
Yeah, I want to run a dungeon Underdark campaign already. And I have various books that have been published over time. The Underdark, I think it's just called Underdark.
I got 2 box settings for the Underdark from 2nd edition.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They do tell good things, but they just don't pop alive like we've been able to do already.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm happy with what we've come up with. I hope our listeners have enjoyed listening this far.
Sorry again about my voice if it makes your, voice get itchy.
And I think we're going to have to about sign off for now. So, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I enjoyed it this week. I love the Bat People. A good role for the Veggie Pygmies. Because they got no love in 3rd edition. I don't think they were even mentioned in 4th edition.
Yeah. Well, D&D it's so rich. There's so many different things
Decades
to cover.
of history.
It's very hard to cover everything. And that's what, I mean, a little bit of what we're trying to do, here is just bring to light some of the things that we might have forgotten, or just cover more of this wonderful world of, well, it's not just D&D, it's all of fiction. It's all the things that we think of in our dreams.
Because, I mean, even Tarzan had his underworld stuff.
Tarzan went to the underworld?
Tarzan had, there's a underground area that had, an ancient Roman civilization there.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll have to talk of that for another episode, I think. Iteration.
So, if it was good enough for, the author to write about for Tarzan, it's good enough for your character in your novel, buddy.
Absolutely. So more Underdark.
So you could just rip it off from us, just so long as you have something, make it awesome, make it fun. Heck, maybe that's where the dinosaurs went. Throw some dinosaurs down there too.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely been done. So.
Well, here.
If you want to do it again, that's fine too.
Just make it your own.
Variations on a theme. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're about to sign off. My name has been Josh Trelettman.
I've been the very horse Ryan Kirkby.
All right. Send money.